SteelSeries' new budget line of keyboards is pretty interesting. They have the Apex 3, which is a full rubber dome keyboard that sells for between £50 and £60, and then there's the Apex 5, which is an OLED wielding hybrid mechanical membrane switch that sells for about £110. Now these aren't quite for me, but maybe, just maybe they are for you, so let's take a look. So starting with the similarities, both of these keyboards are full 104 key, sort of full-size keyboards with a fairly similar button layout, of course being a UK layout for me, but there are plenty of other layouts available also. The keycaps are fairly similar in terms of their feel and printing, that sort of stuff, and they're both RGB keyboards, one of which, the Apex 5, is a full per key lighting, whereas the Apex 3, because of its rubber dome style and also because of its IP32 water resistance rating, which honestly isn't that fantastic, but I suppose is better than nothing, means that it's more of a sort of ambient glow across the whole keys, and you don't actually get the backlighting shining through the keys themselves all that much. Both of these keyboards do have an interesting sort of macro button layout over the home delete keys, all 6 that are there, and there is also a SteelSeries key that's your function key next to the right window switch. The differences are pretty big though. The Apex 3, like I said, is a full rubber dome keyboard with the standard keycap sort of design and all of the mushy, unresponsive feel you can expect from this type of key switch. The actuation force isn't too bad, but you definitely have to bottom out the key travel all the way down to be able to get it to actuate, which, while not a problem for me personally as I type fairly heavily anyway, when gaming, it is a bit of a pain, especially when you want some fast reaction times, say pressing R for reload, you want to just spam that key and then get back to being able to move around properly, and that the fact that you have to bottom out the key fully to get this to work does mean that those sorts of actions take a lot longer than you'd like. The 5, on the other hand, is better, but not by that much. On first glance, when you take a keycap off, it looks like they use fairly standard Cherry clone style switches. You know, they have a Cherry stem, albeit with a slightly supported kind of collar around it, and they use standard Cherry keycaps, standard clear housings for the LEDs, but there's an important distinction here. These are not your standard Cherry clone switches. In fact, like SteelSeries say, they are hybrid switches, which means they use a mechanical spring for your actuation force and to rebound the key back up, and they use a mechanical clicker device to be able to get the, you know, clicky noise, but they use a membrane sort of touchpad design for actuating the key switch itself, not a standard sort of contact patch inside the switch itself. Now that's an important distinction. I want to very quickly read you what SteelSeries say about this hybrid style key switch. They say it combines the smoothness of a membrane switch with the added durability, performance, and satisfying tactile click of a mechanical blue switch. Now I'm just so confused because there's just like so much wrong with that. One, they say that a membrane switch is a smooth style switch, which it just isn't. 2, they say that they want the smoothness of a membrane switch while being a tactile blue Cherry style switch. You can't have a smooth tactile switch. Like you have an actuation point, you have a click. The whole point of the click is to know when the actuation point is, and that you just can't have that. I really don't understand why manufacturers feel the need to combine membrane and mechanical switches, especially since I can't imagine that these types of key switches cost SteelSeries all that much less than a, you know, cheap Cherry MX Blue clone. And so, you know, unless they're saving a bit of money in manufacturing, because Cherry MX style switches normally use through hole and need to be soldered to the PCB, whereas this style of membrane often doesn't need any sort of through hole components. Maybe that's the factor, but overall my actual experiences with typing on it and using it weren't as bad as I thought it would be, but it's certainly not great. You can definitely tell that these are not mechanical switches, and the main thing, the main point that I want to get across here is that the tactile click that you hear, which by the way, have a quick listen. That tactile click is nowhere near to where the actuation point is most of the time. Now, sometimes it can be somewhat accurate, but it's pretty hit or miss depending on the key you press, how hard you press it, how quickly you press it, and all that sort of stuff. And you do still generally need to bottom out the key to be able to actuate it. Now, it is a little better than the rubber dome style Apex 3, and so, you know, that's good, but especially for the price point they're asking for this, I'm just not in love with this. The one redeeming feature of the 5 is a little OLED display. It's something that they introduced in the Apex Pro that I've checked out before, and has a couple of game integration, stuff like CSGO, and also now has Discord integration to show you incoming messages, and you can also use it with the scroll wheel and button to the right of it to be able to adjust some of the built-in settings, stuff like your illumination, so changing RGB profiles or even setting custom ones, also setting macros and changing that stuff around, and a few other bits, which can be handy to have, although it's certainly not a massively game-changing feature for me personally. Other than the OLED on the 5 and the IP30 rating on the 3, these don't offer all that much in the way of extra features, which, while not the end of the world, for this type of non-mechanical keyboard at this very much mechanical keyboard price range, it would kind of be nice to see. On the topic of build quality, they're actually not too bad. The 3 is somehow a good bit taller than the 5 here, which I think comes down to the fact that the 5 uses a metal chassis, whereas the 3 uses a plastic one. And I would mention that the key switches on the 5 have a significant amount of key wobble, which was very noticeable while typing, and made it feel a lot more like a very cheap keyboard, along with a fairly cheap sounding twang to the tactile click, which made sort of turned me off it a little bit. For me, the £50 and £110 price tags respectively is just way too much to be asking for this style of keyboard. These are okay enough if they were like £20 and £50 respectively, but they're not. You can go and buy a fully mechanical and quite frankly amazing keyboard for just £30 with white LED backlighting that actually shines through the keys, or you can get an RGB version for about $50 from a pretty decent semi-indie brand. I've reviewed the Drevo Grammar before, by the way, so feel free to check that out in the cards or end cards at the end. But generally speaking, that sort of value from a keyboard, or even the Keychron 2, which is a fantastic, amazingly built, very portable, and I think if I remember rightly, wireless mechanical keyboard, that's just like $80, so even less than the Apex 5, and that's fully mechanical, works with Macs, has a removable USB Type-C cable, and all that jazz. So it just makes it very hard for me to actually recommend these when I know that you can get so much better for so much less. Now with that said, I am definitely biased against non-mechanical keyboards, as I have been using mechanical keyboards for the last, I don't know, 6 years. They're utterly fantastic, and especially considering you can get such cheap ones, it just makes so much more sense for me personally to be recommending that. Of course, I do know that other people have their own preferences, and so I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you think of these hybrid style switches in the Apex 5, and what do you think of the Apex 3 in general? Would you go for a £50 rubber dome keyboard? Anything and all, do let me know in those comments down below. Now, if you want to see more videos like this one every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, do hit that subscribe button and the bell notification icon. If you want to check out either of these keyboards, I'm going to leave links to them in the description down below. Those will be Amazon affiliate links that will take you to your local Amazon store where you can see pricing when and where you watch this, because it can and definitely does vary. If you want to support the channel in more ways than just watching these videos, you can check out the rest of the links in the description down below too. There's stuff like Amazon and Overclockers UK affiliate links that don't cost you anything to use, but massively help me out when you do use them. Or there's stuff like merch for hoodies or t-shirts like this one. I'm very happy with how incredibly soft this thing is. Or there's also Patreon if you want to get cool rewards like ad-free videos and support me directly, and a load of other stuff too. Otherwise, you can check out some more videos over there. I'll try to remember to leave the Drevo Grammar review for you to check out. And otherwise, that is pretty much it. If you've got any questions, feel free to leave those in the comments down below, and we'll see you all in the next video.